Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with the Hunters. I am here with my co-host,
Nick Giganti.
My name is Martino Picariello. We're super excited to have you here with two other guys who have an incredible show themselves. I really am excited to introduce the fellows here on my screen. They have a podcast platform called Bricks and Risks. Now, they just released their 50th episode. So to give you an idea of their experience level, how long they've been doing this, are they just kind of like a passing shooting star? No, they're here. They're the real deal. And we were lucky enough to be on their show. Geez, it might have been a month ago we were on their show, Nick?
Yeah. Yep.
So we're really fortunate to have them on our show now to talk a little bit about, their show and a lot of the things that they do and seeing. Without further ado, Tim Garrity and Sean Mooney. How are you doing, guys?
Doing great.
Doing well. Thanks for having us, fellas.
Excited to be here.
Amazing. Yes, and just to clarify, if you're looking at the screen, Tim is on the right side, a little bit more handsome. I'm kidding.
That's right. All right. Let's state the obvious.
My mother would not
Sorry,
agree.
Sean. Yeah, I'm sorry, Sean. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus like that early. But no,
Okay.
we just mentioned the 50 episodes. Can you guys talk about that a little bit and what you did for that? Because you were giving us a little bit of that before we went on.
Yeah, absolutely. I can start off. So I think the 50th for us was important for a few different reasons. One, we kind of had our eye on it when we started. One of our guests, Bradley Flowers from the Insurance Guys podcast, it's the #1 insurance podcast in the U.S., million plus downloads. And he had said on our show, just like randomly, it's like, did you know that only 1% of podcasts have about 50 episodes or more? Which I think has increased now to somewhere around 10. It might be a little bit higher these days with people staying consistent with it. And at the time when we were talking to him, we did like 20 episodes. So we're like, man, we're like
Halfway there.
we're already like halfway there. But here's one thing I'll say about getting to 50. I think starting from a place of banking content and staying ahead of the podcast is what helps you stay consistent. So some people do podcasts and they're like, hey, we're just going to release it once a month. Some people are like, hey, we're just going to release them whenever. Sean and I were really big on, we want to do it weekly, which means we're doing, about 52 a year. And we looked at that as that's a way that you can count on us. And we really wanted to build like an actual show and a community through Bricks and Risk. And that's kind of what it's turned into after 50.
Well, I think the important part too is, and I don't know if those numbers are like active podcasts or non-active or the combination of the two, because there's a lot that start and stop. So, we've seen, we even look it up because I'm like, how many insurance podcasts are there? And there's a lot.
You look it up.
And then you're like, oh, that was a really good show. And it's not even around anymore.
Yeah.
So just looking at it from that perspective, kind of like zeroes in on a different number. So that's one thing to kind of look at when you're, sizing it up or what your goals are, or where you want to go with this. But the other thing too is with our 50th, we kind of wanted to do something different. We shoot our shows, we have our guests, we talk to each other in studio. So that's kind of been for 49 episodes how we've done it. And I think we're always looking at how can we be creative? How can we put a different spin on this? How can we, engage a little differently with our audience? And so using the 50th as our platform to kind of go about it a different way really allowed us the opportunity to do that. And it was cool kind of putting it together and trying to put it together. And the final product, you're like, wow, like it was different, but we nailed it. And it was really cool. And we got a lot of good feedback with the reception from everyone.
Yeah.
And that was just by doing it just live. Was there anything else that you guys brought that, that you kind of switched it up?
One big switch up was I sat on Sean's side of the table. He sat on mine.
That changes everything.
I shaved my beard into a mustache because sometimes Sean has been known to show up with a random mustache. I haven't seen him in a couple weeks. He just shows up with a big stash. And I wore his clothes and he wore mine. And I had a bunch of people chiming in. They're like, what's up with the corduroy hat, the mustache, and the chest hair hanging out from that shirt?
Tim, you never look so good.
I was like, well, these are his actual clothes. This wasn't me trying to dress like him. This was me dressing in his clothes.
So
But the other thing, too, is we kind of did a recap on the show, something we've never done before.
Got it.
We've never done before. So what we did was we were able to like roll in. So we do shorts, YouTube, all of that. And so what we did was we had like, we'll do is like show the short on the screen. And we're kind of like recapping like, oh, remember that and do this. And what was your top show or top
three? We did top three clips.
So it was a different show altogether from a content standpoint.
Yep. Totally.
That's cool. So just backing it up a little bit. So Bricks and Risk, what is it about? Like, what does it pertain to? Just to give the audience kind of like, what do you got? What is your basis? What do you guys come from? What's your main business? What was the premises to how this all started for you guys?
Yeah, I think for us, one, we wanted to be pretty laser focused on who our audience was. So me being in real estate, that's the bricks part. Sean being in insurance, that's the risk part. It just sounded good. And we also wanted it to be a little bit more facing of like small business owners, entrepreneurs. Like we really wanted a business podcast, but it was more industry facing. So we're talking to the real estate agent, we're talking to the insurance rep, and we're talking to the person who's running a small restaurant or a food truck or a production company, whatever it is you're doing. And they're trying to listen to our show and get some tips, some tricks, some boots on the ground knowledge of like, hey, we run two different businesses, but we know each other. We've known each other since we were like 10 years old, which is why we were able to poke fun at each other all the time and have fun. But, we were trying to really like reach out to that entrepreneurial sales, marketing, business audience and let them know, hey, here's some things I've done with my business. I grew a brokerage for like 10 years independently, which a lot of people haven't done that. Sean does an independent insurance brokerage, again, from scratch, like no partners. We both bootstrapped our companies. We both fell on our face 100 times each, probably more than that. And just like, we had to figure a lot out by trial and error.
Yeah, and I think part of it too was that we really like podcasts. He listens to a lot. I listen to a lot.
The medium.
When we were talking about starting it, the conversation was, I was telling him, hey, you got to start a podcast because it'd be great for your business. And he's like, well, I don't know, maybe. And then he's like, what if you did it with me? And then it kind of parlayed into, starting from that and then becoming this. And really what we like and enjoy about podcasts in general, sales podcast or a business podcast, is the real deal information that you can get from a podcast, right? So people that have been doing it, that have been successful in their businesses and really opening the door and showing people like, hey, this is what I do, right? And teaching people ways to be successful within their business. So that's kind of the start of how we started talking about it and getting the idea. And then from there, it was just, how do we want it to look? And what's our audience going to look like? And who do we want to speak to? And just kind of building like the building blocks from there, kind of one piece at a time.
Yeah, and I think that's important. It goes for business as well, but who is your target audience? That's going to shape exactly what you speak about. That's going to shape your, what your overall message is. And it's funny because it has synergies with what we do, what we have here, which is all, mindset, motivation, and entrepreneurialism. Like that's what this podcast is about. But it's, I always say that's why I've actually gone more towards podcasts for information, because you're hearing it from somebody who is the expert in that field straight from their mouth. When you're looking at it for news, if you're getting your news from a news organization, you're getting the expert speaking to a journalist who might not know anything about that subject, who then is spitting it out in their words. But that's why I've always loved podcasts, because you're hearing from the specialist
Yeah, it's the
right in front
one-to-one.
of
There's
you.
no middleman.
It's the one-to-one. There's no middleman. Exactly. It's not a game of telephone, and that's how journalism has always been. And that's why I think nowadays podcasts are gonna
Upend
basically
regular news. Yeah.
Yeah, regular news might be a thing of the past. I think it's really just the baby boomers that are keeping the regular news in business right now. So,
the other thing too is I think it's about Tim and I, our approach is that we're kind of open books. I mean, there's a lot of people out there in different industries, different businesses that, don't want to share anything, right? Because they've got the secret sauce, and
they want to keep it real tight, which I get. Like, I can understand that mentality as well. It's scarcity versus abundance.
Yeah.
And I feel like you and I were a little bit more abundance in mindset. Like, and here's a great example. I think because we liked podcasts so much as listeners was because most of the people who do the podcast, at least the ones we listen to, were more of that mindset. They're like, hey, I want to share what I know with all of you because someone maybe shared something with me. It's almost like paying it forward a little bit. So like, and like when we started it, there were like, a few main reasons why. One was to give back because, again, we felt like people have given to us. Two, hey, look, this is content. This is marketing. Like, we want our businesses to grow from this, in the ways that we wanted to. And we're relationship guys. So that brings up the third point was like, we want to build more relationships that maybe we would not have had if we didn't have a show. And that's really happened. I mean, we had you guys on. Your episode's coming up in a few weeks and can't wait to release that.
Super excited for that.
Because it's really top notch. It's excellent. And I think just like those three reasons, it gets back. It's like, what, who's our audience? It's also like, what's your purpose? And, I think the reason the four of us probably like podcasts so much, as we had just said, is really because, someone's giving you like an under the hood look at their business or their company or their partnerships or whatever it is. And we didn't pay a dime to do that. I mean, hey, well, if you're on Spotify or Apple Music or one of these things, like, you are paying money to listen, but you're getting it on your terms whenever you want it, consume it when you want. And I'm such a huge music guy. Podcasts have completely taken over my life. Where I used to just be all music all the time, podcasts here or there. I'm like probably like 2/3 podcasts now in all my drive time, listening time, and like a third music. So I'm starting to get out of the music loop, which is awful.
It's like I can relate to that, Tim, because it's like the same feeling you used to get when you'd hear, a big drop if you're listening to EDM, or a sick bar when you're listening to rap. You feel that same rush of energy when you get that tip to take that next step in your business. And when you're obsessed in what you do, which a lot of the people who watch our show they're obsessed. They want to take that next step. We want to give them a look at underneath the hood, a little roadmap, if you will. But when you can be real, like you guys are, I mean, to your point, 10 years old when you guys met, I mean, you could see it right away. I felt super comfortable on the show. So just being super abundance driven, and I love that from you guys. Is it for everybody, to your point, Tim? No, I don't expect, everybody to be super open, but I think it's a great way to be. And it's a fulfilling, it's definitely fun to do these things, and I enjoy them. I'm sure you do too.
And the other thing too, as much as you learn, the one thing I love hearing is the failures. Like, I love, and not in a way where you're like, oh, yeah. But I always look at it as like, if Jim failed doing this, it's like, I take as much notes on that as I would, this was super successful, this really worked for us. So I think just those two different angles from a business standpoint, when you're crafting your business or you're coming up with new ideas, the failures speak as much as the successes a lot of times.
Totally agree. If anything, it's like, that's where you should be taking more notes, when you're breaking down where they kind of taken that misstep. Now, let me ask you guys, as we're kind of getting deeper into our podcast world, just to wrap up Bricks and Risks before we get into maybe the personal stuff, is there something, I mean, you guys pre-recorded episodes, you planned ahead, you have a great studio and a studio manager. He's incredible. What was his name again?
Dylan.
What's up, Dill?
Dylan, if you can hear us, it's Nick and I. What's up, dude?
Great to see you guys.
Yeah, our
Hey,
boy.
Nick.
He's literally become our little brother.
He makes it all happen.
Was he the secret sauce? I mean, like, where were your mistakes, I guess, just to get to that point?
So listening to mistakes to avoid the landmines, right?
Yeah, right.
So that is the one thing I will say is we, from a technology, from a implementation standpoint with the podcast, is having him allowed us to miss probably a lot of those different things because we show up and lights on, cameras on, mics on, and you're rolling. And then on the post-production, it's like, don't worry about all that. Here it is, as a final product. So
our learning curve went from this to this. It'd be like, all right, I can relate this to real estate. You guys are both in real estate. When we get into real estate, most of the time, we just have to go figure it out. Like, we got to work with tenants, landlords, buyers, sellers. We fall on our face. We say the wrong thing. We get in trouble, or the customer service isn't there, and then eventually you learn. The example I can give is like, let's say you got your real estate license. You just walked into a room with all these clients. They're like, okay, we're ready for you. Why don't you go show me a house? Why don't you sell this house for me? Why don't you go help me rent this house? Like, it is literally like we got the keys to like quality production without having to learn the cameras, the editing, the soundboard, the cables, like the microphones. Like, that's one advantage I'll say is like working with like a production company like you guys are doing is humongous in the podcast world if you're serious about it. Like, if you got a long-term vision for your podcast, just like you do with your business, you can't go it alone. You kind of need some help if you really want to scale something nice and have it not run your life. Like, do you want to run when you do your podcast, or you want the podcast to run you? And I think,
or also leave it to the professionals, right? Like, we could never do what he does on a level because he's so good at what he does. Yeah. Like, we could scrap it together and band-aid it together, but it's never going to be as good as when someone who does it day in and day out.
Yep, totally agree.
100%. No, I love that. Great advice for anyone who's looking to start something like this. And I know a lot of people that listen, we were all listeners at one point, right? Now we're starting it. So the people out there listening, I think that's a great tidbit of information. Now, to dive in to just more personal stuff, I mean, Sean, let's start with you on the insurance side. Anything interesting that you're seeing right now?
Everything.
Insurance. Talk about
what's
the
not
changes that we saw. For real, talk about the changes that we saw this year.
It's really been bad. Underwriting.
It's in the shitter.
It really is. I mean, so
glass half empty Mooney.
So if I've been doing insurance for 22 years, this is the worst, and it's been the worst by far. Nothing even compares to what we're seeing nowadays. Insurance companies, they can't get profitable. They can't make money in different, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Florida, California, all those different ones. But
Florida, it's crazy.
It's insane. It's absolutely bonkers. Which I actually think will be state-run in a couple of years. It won't be able to sustain itself. It'll just basically, because right now, I mean, I think Citizens, which is the main insurance company down there right now, I think they shoulder over half of all homeowners risks down there. So I think it's just going to be, one storm could potentially just wipe it out.
Knock them out.
Yep. So what we're seeing for property specific to Pennsylvania, it's been really bad because they haven't been able to make money. So what do you do when you can't make money? Take rate, right? These increases that we've seen on residential property, on commercial property, is in the double digits, anywhere from 20%, 40%, 60%. We've seen as much as 100% with some of our carriers. Wow. So it's way up.
So why is it going up so much?
Yeah.
I can understand in Florida they're getting hit by hurricanes that level towns, but in a place, and I understand.
But there's more underpinning to Florida than just that. There was one legislation that passed through that. Remember when that big condo building fell down a couple years ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what they found after they did their research was, oh man, this could have been avoided because I don't know, something with like the structure was never inspected in so many years. So now all of these buildings, I want to say older than like 1980, are having to come up with these inspections, and these inspections are costing a lot of money. Structural engineers, different varying zoning, different things. And so now these condo associations are having to come out of pocket to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get these things, number one, inspected, and then two, up to code if they haven't been, done in a while. So yeah, the storms are there, but there's also these other things that are dragging down the market. So Florida's just in a bad way. But up here, insurance companies can't get profitable. They can't make money. So they've been taking rate. And then these companies that are left to kind of say, all right, we'll stay here. We'll write insurance here. But if we do it, we're going to be very selective about what we're going to write. And so they're essentially cherry picking what they do want to write. So inspections on new properties, they're putting everyone under the microscope. Like if you buy a new property and the sidewalk's chipped up, right? Or there's a tree overhanging, they look at it like, if we want to stay on it, we want to avoid that hazard. We don't want to pay out a claim on something that could have been avoided, right? Years ago, it wasn't an issue. Like, oh, we're making money.
Yeah, they're making money.
We're not going to spend the extra money to do the inspections. But now everything is under the microscope of looking at the property and just saying, all right, what's going to cause damage and what can be avoided and what can we put back on the property owner that would eliminate that type of claim in the future.
Totally. And Sean, quick question. Who are you mainly working with right now? Is it first-time buyers, like single-family buyers, or is it like investors buying multi-units?
Yeah,
or
so it's
anything in between?
Yeah, all the above, right?
Yeah.
So first-time home buyers, residential side, we're doing a lot of work with them. We get into a lot of calls where we're a broker, so we rep 20 different companies. If we collectively commercial, personal, and life insurance is probably over 50 that we deal with. So
Gotcha.
On the property side, we see a lot, but a lot that comes to us is because we're a broker, meaning they try to get homeowners insurance or property insurance, and they go to their agent, and they do the inspection, and they say, "Oh, we don't want to be on this risk anymore," right? If that agent doesn't have any other options for them, and they're like, "Hey, who are we going to go to?" They're going to wind up with us or someone like us that's a broker that has a lot of different avenues that we can take their individual risk and then kind of shop it to each of these different carriers because of the uniqueness of the account or the property itself. You really have to find that carrier that's the right fit for for the risk.
Yeah, and the reason I kind of ask who you're working with, does it change on who you're working with, how you're consulting them right now? What are the words that they tend to hear right now? Like, is it the same?
I think what our approach is that we know some carriers are more stringent on the inspections than others, right? So if you come to me, I say, hey, listen, I've got option A here, on this commercial property, and it's going to be $3,000 a year, right? Okay, it sounds good. It sounds great. Or, option B would be, hey, we can also write it with this carrier, and you're probably going to, sail through a little bit easier based on the underwriting requirements on this,
Won't scrutinize as much.
Right. So would you rather, have a premium for A and deal with all the complications?
Cross your fingers.
On the backside? Or would you pay a little bit more to kind of avoid those things? And so depending upon the risk tolerance of the client, depending upon, what the actual property is like and what we can see from an external inspection, we kind of try to steer our clients in the best interest in all of those scenarios.
All right, I'm gonna dumb it down real quick because Mr. Technical.
Are you saying I'm
Mr. Technical over here?
You call him Sean smart?
I am. Sean is extremely smart. Don't let the thrift store shirt fool you.
Yeah.
But one thing I've learned a ton about insurance through this show. Like, again, we've known each other forever. He's had his business for 12 years. I've sent lots of clients through there. I'm a big client of his. Like, we do our flip business through there. He's got commercial properties with us. So I've been working with Sean forever. The one thing let's think about in our world, let's say it's like a home buyer. Someone's just buying a residential home. Like if the roof is in bad shape, that's hard for insurance companies to look at because they think they're going to write someone who immediately has a problem. Now, years ago, when the market was a little bit softer, is that the correct term? When the market was softer, like they were just writing anyone and everyone because they're like, we're making money no matter what. But like when the pandemic happened, inflation really went up. And when inflation went up, the cost for them to fix things went up. And when the cost for them to fix things goes up, what happens? If they don't make any money, they come to us and say, I need more money from you. And then we start paying more. Not only has that happened in the last couple of years, but now there's insurance companies that are like, we don't even want to talk to you because this house is not something we want to insure. It's like in too rough a shape, or like we didn't know that. So now what's happening is people go out and do applications with insurance companies, normally with people they find online and don't know. They say, here's your policy, here's your monthly amount. Then they go out and look at it and they're like, we're not going to do this. We can't even give you insurance. So it's really affecting people's perception of insurance. To me, always seemed like a given. You need insurance, you talk to an insurance person, they give you a quote, you can compete with two others if you really want to, and you pick the lowest dollar amount with decent coverage and you're good. Now you can talk to those three companies and maybe one or two of them doesn't even want to talk to you. So that is really from like a home buyer perspective where insurance has come because of lots of those factors.
What we also have too is, with these increases that came through, consulting and educating our clients is huge, right? Same with you guys, right? You have to educate them about the process. So, we've had a lot of scenarios in the past year where we've seen increases, 20, 25%. People call us, say, hey, what's going on? I say, hey, listen, this is the market. This is what's going on. We've even gone out to market because we like to size it up and get a comparison, right? And my whole spiel is, in order to us to make a move, it has to be really compelling, right? Because we're gonna bite yourself in the butt if we move the account and then they come back and they say, oh, okay, well, we want this, and we want this. And that happens often. And we actually have people come into our office that say, a lady came to our office 2 weeks ago. Hey, I bought this house.
The door was unlocked?
What?
The deadbolt was unlocked, or she called you?
No, the deadbolt was locked. She did not come in. She called. But she bought a house. It was in October, bought a house. And then within 30 days, she got a letter of cancellation. Hey, do we want to be on the insurance? We're done with you. Boom. Like,
crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And that messes with everything. It can mess with your mortgage,
everything. So she didn't even, she bought it online, didn't have an agent. She's like scrambling, like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, I don't have insurance in 30 days, right? So we get a lot of those scenarios that pop up where you need to consult. You need to educate the people. You really need to be doing what's in their best interest. Even despite these increases that we're seeing that are the most I've ever seen, is we're telling people like, hey, it's bad, but if you move, you really could be in worse shape than where you were before taking the 25% increase.
Gotcha.
And what's the end game here? Where is there going to be any reprieve in the insurance market? Because I know that it's all based on numbers that, you have these actuaries that create the formula for what rate that you guys are charging. For us, real estate, we could all agree the last 2 years in real estate have also sucked.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's totally correlated to interest rates. If interest rates go down 100 basis points for us, we're back in the game. People are throwing around money. A lot of these deals that don't make sense, these multifamily deals, will start to make sense again. But what is insurance going to are they going to go bankrupt? I mean, you're saying the state's going to take it. Yeah.
Here's what I'm telling people is that we are now at the new, right? So before you'd have hard market, you'd have soft market. And it was a pendulum that would go back and forth, right? Rates go up, rates go down, rates go up, rates go down. Now I think with this new, we're kind of hit a plateau where this is the new norm of where you're going to see premiums, and they're not going to go back kind of where they were.
The cost of insurance has reached like a floor, let's say.
A more sustainable pricing model.
Yep.
if you will.
No, and just to add on the real estate side, I feel very similar about real estate values. Like they won't go back to what your parents bought them for back in the 90s, you know, and insurance, I think, to your point earlier, Tim, like I always looked at it that way too. It's like you needed it, you know, you need a home, you need insurance, whatever that is. So now with these new prices, I think it's just more of, I mean, honestly, it's like
how to stomach it.
Yeah,
How
do we just kind of move on and either make more money?
It's very similar to your
or
guys with real estate, right? So like NAR or NRA, NAR.
Yeah.
So that could totally flush out, like, you know, 300, 400,000 real estate agents that weren't, you know, doing real estate, right? And they're just done and not going to deal with it and move on, right? And so that the new norm, the new norm might be like, all right, now we're just going to have, you know, 1 million agents instead of a 1.5 million real estate agents.
Totally.
So it might be the new norm there in terms of just what the industry is going forward. And I think a lot of it is.
Are you seeing that in insurance right now with agents leaving the business or because we
M&A?
have some agents.
It's M&A, mergers and acquisitions. Yeah. So
so consolidating kind of, right? Cleaning up the shit. Like
the weak
our
are getting
sellers,
eaten up.
Right. Like our sellers, like we do a lot of development sales. So like we have a lot of deals, right? But the guys that have built the deals we already sold them, they're like, we can't take on more deals until we've consolidated and sold these off in some form, right? So just back to you, but I know what you mean in terms of like, let's clean up what we got. I feel like we've been in that phase for a while. Now I think 2025, 26, once everyone's consolidated and this has been stomached, people can actually make moves. But back to you on that, John.
Yeah, so it's not going to be what it was. You know, we'd have, you know, $1 million homes where we were insuring them for like $1,200, and I always thought back then, I'm like,
wow, like what?
That can't, you know, you're not making money on that risk. But the losses were good, and so they just kept at it, and just kind of hit a tipping point where now it's like everything is scrutinized. So the pressure is on these companies to make money, and then it's like down from there is making money, having better underwriting, and really a return to being profitable.
Right.
But the mergers and acquisitions is real. So like a lot of insurance people are getting out by way of acquisition.
Right. They get bought out and then maybe they leave.
Yeah, which is typical of a down market. Down market, people get acquired. Up market, people expand. It's just, you know, they hit the roadblocks and they.
Yeah, it was just last week the biggest acquisition went through, which was Gallagher. They're one of the biggest brokers in the country. Bought Assured, which is a monster broker. So that may change things, you know, in the landscape just overall.
Do you, I mean, just kind of last thing on insurance, but like, do you think that makes prices go up when like a few big guys kind of are in control versus like, no?
That's more on the broker side. If it was on the carrier side, I would say yes. Meaning, you know, if, you know,
less
like
competition.
Right, if 20 went to 10.
Yeah.
You know, the people
that's,
got it.
You know, Florida, right? So 10 years ago in Florida, there might have been 20 companies writing property insurance in Florida, right? Now there's like 3 or 4, right? So like now
might be one.
The lift in premiums is just that much more because there's just not enough to go around. And so now what you're left with is these 3 or 4 companies, if we're going to shoulder the risk, we're going to charge for it and we're going to make money. And so just by way of that, you're going to see premiums lift.
I was talking to one guy that I know that has a house in, I think not St. Pete, somewhere right outside of Tampa though.
Yeah. Okay.
And single family house, nothing crazy.
Clearwater, somewhere around there maybe.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Phillies training day.
Yeah. Right. And I'm asking, and he's like, I asked him about his insurance, and I said, I heard there's crazy premiums down there. You know, how much are you paying on a regular thing? You know, this house is probably $400,000-$500,000. $13,000 a year.
Yep. Oh, I'm like, my God.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
Sean's over here like, yep, that sounds pretty.
He's like,
average.
and it's a condo, and my condo fee's $400 a month. I'm just letting you know.
But then with those condos, because I looked into that too, where you were talking about those crazy assessments because they have these engineers. So now these condos are getting reassessed. They're paying like $2,500 a month for condo fees.
Yeah, because you got to recoup the money.
They're saying that there's gonna be, it's probably happening, but they're gonna have a fallout in the real estate.
It's coming,
especially in the condo market, because
totally.
Imagine owning the condo flat out and paying $5,000 a month for just your condo fees and insurance.
Yeah.
You know,
It'll be bodies on the ground. It'll be that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Just leave.
It's gonna it's
Let it
trending towards that. It's trending towards a total like '08 apocalyptic washout in Florida. That's really the way it feels.
I've heard that, but it's also crazy to see because again, we work with a lot of investors, national buyers. We're working on a pretty big Tampa deal as we speak.
Nice.
And there's guys that are they still want to buy. They still want to buy down there, and I don't know what they're doing for insurance or how they're insuring their products and stuff like that, but it's definitely a major issue down there. I think it's across the country, and it just goes for everything nowadays. You go to the grocery store, you're paying more money. You're going to insurance, labor, and
I wonder if those investors down there are looking at the trend lines from like a year or two ago, right? Rather than like looking out beyond. I mean, they're smarter than us with investing, but
Sean, you're pretty smart. I don't know.
As Tim stated before,
Yes.
I just don't know. I would think based on where the market is right now, there would be a freeze up, like no new money coming in and a lot of fallout from what is happening down there, because you actually don't know what the next foot is to drop down there. And
I'm sorry. I think the way they're looking at it, they look at just pure statistics of the people that are moving into the state.
Yeah, the migration.
The migration, how much more money is pouring into the state. So, well, the insurance is fucked up right now, and there's other factors that we have to kind of, look at. But at the end of the day, I'm buying a stock that should be going up based on just the number of people that are migrating there.
Yeah, could be.
So, but and just to segue, Tim, you're the real estate guy, talking all this real estate. Do you own anything in Florida right now?
No, actually, I used to own a property in Sarasota. So prior to real estate, I worked for Pulte Homes, a new construction builder, and I ended up buying an investment property in the Sarasota area, which ended up being a huge mistake. It was a big learning lesson for me, investing wise. Not only like buying in like a state that I just didn't know enough about. I mean, yeah, I've been to like Disney World. I went down to Sarasota once for like a holiday. I'm like,
horse race?
This place is great.
You were like, the weather's great down here.
Yeah, I went to like a highlight match and winning money. No, I'm just kidding.
You didn't look at the migration. You didn't look at the insurance. You said,
right.
The weather's nice.
And yeah, so I had to learn that way because again, at the time was kind of like it was like a year or two ago. It's like, it was hard to get your hands on something. And when I worked for a builder, they were building a community down there. Like, if you're an employee of Pulte, we're going to give you first dibs on buying investment properties in this community. Not only that, we're going to pay for some of your closing costs. We're going to give you money off on this. Like, it was like a built-in opportunity to not only own something, but also get like a discount on it. And then what I quickly learned after like maybe 3-4 years of that was that I didn't have any agents down there that I trusted. My property management company kind of like went out of business. Like, and then it wasn't renting. So I had to like get rid of it. But it was a huge learning lesson owning a property down there.
Amazing. And going back to your early days of investing, where were you mainly focused on?
So investing for myself, I've bought a few properties myself. The first one I ever bought, I was 24, was in Philadelphia. Second one, same. And now third, I live in Flourtown, Pennsylvania. So that's my primary. When I bought my second home, and my wife and I were married for a few years, we ended up turning our first one into a rental. So most of the stuff I've done personally has been more like that, more single family, personal use, turning an owner-occupant property into a rental.
Could we touch on that just a little bit? Because how many people ask me about that process? I can't even keep count of. What did that process look like to turn your, primary into an investment and then purchase again?
Yeah, I knew when I was leaving, I'm like, hey, I'm only moving like 5 minutes down the road. But what I did is, I was in real estate. I was like, let me comp out what the rent is. So once I knew what the rent was conservatively and I knew how much my monthly bills were, I'm like, I'm going to make $300-400 a month in cash flow on like a $1,800-1,900 a month rental, which is pretty good. And then I already owned it. Like, I knew cleaners, I knew contractors, I can control this thing. I just managed it myself. And the way I looked at it, which is the number one thing I tell people to look at when they buy a house to live in, I'm like, you should also look at the fact, if I had to rent this a year from now, what would it rent for and would it cover my monthly nut, my principal, interest, taxes, insurance? And a lot of times it will, but sometimes it won't. And then when it won't and someone's a little scared about it, I'm like, you're going to have to hold on to this thing for 10 years. And like, let's say you have to rent it in 2, you get relocated, you know, there's divorce, there's death, there, you know, kids, there's lots of reasons why people sell. I said, and let's say someone rents this thing and you're losing $100 or $200 a month. Well, your principal might be getting paid down $500, $800 a month. So as much as you think you're losing, you're actually still winning because they're paying down your debt. Not only that, you still get the tax benefits. So you're still going to get a write-off on your taxes. You're still going to have the possibility for appreciation. And like, you own this asset. Like, real estate is the #1 wealth builder in the US for a reason, because there's lots of different ways to get wealthy off of real estate. It's not just like buying something and waiting. Like, there are tax benefits, there's appreciation, there's, you know, paying your mortgage off early, there's renting it out, there's flipping it. Like, there's so many different ways to earn money in real estate that when someone buys something and they have their existing property and let's say the numbers are a little tight on selling it, they don't feel like they're going to walk away with much, I always suggest, have you thought about renting this? And then we run through that scenario. And I will say, when I got in like 2010, the market was god awful. And back then, there were a lot of people that were trying to sell. They were either in short sale foreclosure territory, or I used to call them, you're in landlord territory. You're going to make money by being a landlord and just staying put. And they're like, well, I don't want to manage this thing. I'm like, talk to a property manager. I know someone who does it. Like, even with them managing your property, you're still making cash flow. And you're not going to go through the short sale foreclosure process, which is going to destroy your credit, and you're going to walk away with nothing. So it's almost like in the beginning when I got started, being like a problem solver in that market was, I was encouraging people to become landlords when they couldn't sell.
I like that. And back to your point earlier, Sean, it's like consulting people in these tough times when things are so uncertain. It's never like, here's A and here's B, you pick, and then you tell me what you want to do and I'll do it. It's like, hey, you know, this is why I really think A is better for you. Even if you go with B, I'm cool with it. Just know that these are the benefits, and I've worked with people in the same situation as you, and they've gone with A and they've had whatever it is. That's just one of many examples.
It kills me too when I hear these guys, you know, not Grant Cardone, but some of these other people, they're like, yeah, when you buy your first house, it's not an asset. And I'm like, I don't understand that. I can understand if you bought it horribly, but I'm the same way. My first house, bought in Point Breeze. I knew it was coming up. It went up a little bit. I pulled a HELOC on it. The HELOC I used, I bought another corner lot that I then got construction financing to build my first, build my second house that I then moved into. I rented out the other one. Then I lived there. I would have rented that, but it was more like just a sale. You know, I was like, this is one that I should just sell. Sold that, made very nice windfall profit, then bought a house in Glen Mills that I think it's buying it right, but owning a house or real estate in general, I always say it is the #1 instrument for the average person to become wealthy. You don't have to be the smartest fucker out there. You just have to be committed really to it and to buy it right. Because there are people, I saw it when COVID was happening, some of the prices people were buying properties at, you know, I basically knew that these people were going to be underwater, unfortunately.
I think you said a really good word there, Nick, in being committed. It's commitment. Like, when you own real estate, I tell this to every first-time home buyer. I even tell this to move-up buyers, but they probably already have an understanding already. But every first-time home buyer, I would say, you need to own this house for like a minimum like 7 to 10 years. Now, you don't have to live here for 7 to 10 years, but you need to be the owner for 7 to 10 years for a few reasons. One, you want to pay back some of your principal. Two, you had closing costs when you bought this thing, so you want them to kind of pay for themselves. And three, if you hold on to this thing for 7 to 10 years, and then you're like, I'm leaving, you're going to be in an even better spot. You've probably gone through maybe one cycle of real estate to rent it to someone else. And like Nick said, maybe you got some equity now, pull some equity out of it, do something else with it. And then once you do those things, you're like, yeah, I'm break even on the rental. It's like, yeah, but you pulled out all that money. You still own the asset. You still get all those benefits. And let's say you got a property manager. It's like, you you can't lose with that. But I think the number one mistake people do with real estate when they lose is time. They buy something and it's like 2 years later, like, I need to sell it. And when they do that, they had closing costs, and the closing costs were 5 to 6%, depending. On a $500,000 house, it's a lot of money, and you just haven't paid back any principal yet. You've only been there 2 years. You're only paying a couple $100 a month, because that gets better over time. You start paying more principal back as the loan. As the loan ages.
For anyone who doesn't know this, just watching or listening, it's literally the smallest amount goes towards your principal in the first 10 years. To Tim's point, so it's a huge.
I think
anyone
anyone that says it's
changed
to Nick's when Nick was saying it is, arguing that it's not an asset. It's really a building. It is an asset, but it's a building block, right? And you can leverage that building block into something else. So I don't know how you wouldn't even quantify it as an asset from that standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's misleading for sure.
Agreed.
And then once you start actually investing in real estate, the depreciation
Huge.
is major. It's huge. It's not for each property, but once you start to add it up, you own, I don't know how many doors do you have now?
So from going back to Martino's original question, most of the investing I've done for the last 3-4 years has been with an investment group. So we have a development team, and we have
You're doing more flips.
Yeah, well, we have a commercial property with about 15 doors, 15 tenants, and then we're rehabbing an old Catholic school in Manayunk right now, and
Cool.
that's gonna be 16 apartments. So those are the holds that we have as a development team, and then also what we do throughout the year to sustain income and growth is we flip. So that keeps our contractors busy with their teams, making some money off of each flip. That keeps us busy with acquisitions and sales, because we get paid when we acquire things if they're listed and sell things if they're listed. And that keeps everyone fed throughout the year. That's kind of it's like income in your pocket, and if you do it right. And then we're also taking our winnings. Okay, let's take some of what we've got and let's parlay that into the next school or the next industrial building. And then that becomes more of a bigger project. Like most people, when they invest in real estate, they're doing singles, duplexes, triplexes, because they're I can't afford much more than that. And us raising capital and buying things as a development group, we're just increasing the scale and the speed with which we're owning property. And these are bigger multi-million-dollar assets. So therefore, if it goes up 10%, it could be a lot of money. And then, like you said, the depreciation, the tax benefits, the cash flow, other opportunities and relationships through that's really what I've experienced.
Are you still brokering deals?
As far as being an agent? Yeah. So actually, when Copper Hill ended back at the beginning of May of 2024, I was still selling. I never stopped selling in 15 years. I probably shrunk down to maybe $2-3 million a year for the last few years of volume, personal volume. And now that I have a team of agents, I have the development group, I'm a part owner in a title company. And for me, practicing an agent, to be honest, still to this day is my favorite thing to do, because I just get to go out and I just get to help good people. And I'm basically 100% referral. Call it 90, 95 for argument's sake. But everything that comes to me is through word of mouth. And most of it is just because I've either worked with one of their friends, one of their family members. I've worked with them multiple times. So yeah, I try and do maybe 5 to 7 million in volume a year as an individual agent. It keeps me fresh. I get to help people. It's decent money. I mean, 5 to 7 million a year, you're still making some good money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just love real estate. When I got in, I was just so diehard into the subject that's when I started working for independent brokerages, because I'm I just want to learn all this. I want to absorb it. I want to learn top to bottom how this works. And the first brokerage I ever worked for was 6 guys, and a couple of them went to Penn. It was in Brewery Town. They're why are you working there? I'm they all work with investors. I want to learn how to work with investors, and there's 6 guys here. I'm gonna learn. I have one-to-one relationships with all of them. They're in the city. They're in Brewery Town. They're doing stuff in Francisville. They're doing stuff in Point Breeze. They're doing stuff in Fishtown, Kensington, all these neighborhoods that were on the up and up, 10, 15 years ago. And I got to watch all that. I'd go out, I'd shadow them. I'd talk to their clients. I'd meet their contractors. And then it took me 10 to 12 years to really get into that game myself, because that's when I really felt good about it and I had the right relationship in place.
Yeah. And just the last thing you said, relationships in place, like being in the office with 6 guys. I remember when I joined Nick and the Hunters team, it was 6 of us. And that was a huge reason I joined on. And,
you learned everything.
I did.
That's right.
Everything from it.
That's right.
But
Papa
like,
did well.
Seeing where you're at, Tim, and to your point, like you're educating others. You're still selling, you're investing yourself, developing yourself. Like it makes me feel like, okay, I'm making the right decisions today that are going to lead me to your life, to Nick's life, there's other guys in our office that I look at their lives and I'm like, okay, if I end up doing this and it's a little bit of a mix of both, I'll be very happy. So just thanks for sharing, both of you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing. I know we jumped on a little late today. I could talk to you guys for hours, which we should. I think we should always keep in touch outside the podcast stuff, because just your energies, your ability to communicate and educate your clients, consult your clients. I admire it. I model it. I know we all do. So thank you for your time. It can't be stated enough how grateful we are. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Appreciate the support.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
And maybe we do another one when you guys hit 100 episodes.
Yeah.
And we do something
on our way. We're up to about 60 right now, technically. Until we release our 50th.
I'll dress like Martina.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'll go with Nick.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
You throwing some skates?
Yeah.
Nice. That's it. Seriously, guys, I appreciate you. Taylor, our media guy, will hop in here in a second. But also, if you guys like the content that we're dropping here, please like and subscribe. Our YouTube and our Spotify is completely open, so follow us, and we'll be dropping another episode next week. But
and like and subscribe, Bricks and Risk, baby.
Guys, where can they find you? Please, where can we find you? Instagram, everything.
Yeah, probably best place to find us is if you like listening, it's Spotify, Apple, Amazon. If you like watching, it's YouTube. We do have the feature on Spotify, I like to say this now, where when you listen on Spotify, you can watch us as well. The video pops up, which is a nice feature. Some people like Spotify and they're like, oh, no way.
LinkedIn, we're building out a LinkedIn community. Almost have 500 people in our LinkedIn community. So if you're professional development there, we're trying to grow that as much as we can. YouTube channel, Bricks and Risk.
Yep.
And
I definitely recommend the YouTube guys.
YouTube's huge.
Viewers. Seriously, these guys are great. Like the energy, you can feel it more, I think, and just you see them put a face to the name.
Appreciate it.
So definitely
Thanks,
YouTube if you can, viewers.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon.